Telangana, formed in the June of 2014, is India's youngest state. It is the 12th largest state and also the 12th most populated state of the country. With the state government completing 3 years in power, Times Now Shivangi Chaturvedi takes stock of the young state's achievements, some of its audacious transformational programs and the challenges it has faced over the last 3 years in this exclusive conversation with the Minister of IT, Industries and Urban Development, K.T. Ramarao.
Telangana has completed 3 glorious years. Everyone's talking about the stark transformation and makeover that Hyderabad has had. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, firstly, thank you that you feel that way, that you see a profound difference between the administration prior to the formation of Telangana and the administration after the formation of Telangana. In fact, the fight and the struggle for the statehood for Telangana was essentially about giving better services to people, providing better amenities to people, improving the living standards of people, ensuring the resources of the region are utilized and optimally utilized and delivered within the state of Telangana. So, therefore, I am delighted that in the last 3 years, our Honorable Chief Minister has not only set the ball rolling on several initiatives, but he's also started delivering on a number of counts. And I'm delighted that both the welfare and the developmental schemes conceived and also executed by the government are delivering great deal of results to the people. Not only on the front of welfare, where the vulnerable section of the society in Telangana has been extremely well catered to. I think even on the developmental agenda of creating infrastructure, creating more livelihood opportunities, creating more employment avenues, I think the government has done exceptionally well. And the one thing I would say, which has been a great learning experience, is alignment of aspirations of the people with delivery. Because typically in government, as you would understand, things don't get done as quickly as we want them to. But at the end of the day, I think this new state, when it was created amidst aspirations of millions of people. And I'm delighted that we have delivered on some counts and we are on the path of delivery on some other counts.
Another aspect that's been spoken of is the scale of the projects that have been undertaken, be it Mission Kakatiya, which revived 46,000 tanks that were built under the Kakatiya rulers, or be it Mission Bhagirath, which ensures clean drinking water reaches even the remotest parts of Telangana. Congratulations on all the success. Can you tell us how did all this come about?
Our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KCR, is a man of big vision and big picture. He's never dreamed small. He's always been a man who dreamed big. In fact, about 15 years ago when he said Telangana would be a reality, a lot of people looked at it as a pipe dream. A lot of people said it was impossible. But the man, with his tenacity, with his resolve, was able to walk on the path of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's preachings, where he said, fight, unite and continue to fight till you achieve. And in fact, our Chief Minister had a dream for the statehood of Telangana. And, he started off as one man, but then he had millions and millions of people joining him. And after about 15 years, he delivered on the promise. And very few people in the world have such a fortune of delivering on a mission that they've started off with. So he's always been a man on a mission mode. And after the mission Telangana, statehood for Telangana, was completed, he started several new frontiers in terms of in a mission mode. For example, one of the biggest reasons why we fought for Telangana was water, and just share of water in both on the irrigation side and also on the drinking water side. For example, if you take a plight of the fluorosis victims in Nalgonda as a case in point, you would be surprised to know that a lifeline like River Krishna passes adjacent to the district Nalgonda. Unfortunately, even though there is a large irrigation project like Nagarjun Sagar, also in district Nalgonda, there are more than 200,000 or 2 lakh victims of fluorosis in the same district, which have purely sprung up, this issue's purely sprung up, and 2 lakh people have been physically, completely disabled because of the willful neglect of the previous administrations. Now, this is one thing our Honorable Chief Minister wanted to correct. And the audacity of the project, the ambitiousness and the scale of the project is something that definitely is jaw-dropping, because a state government in India conceiving a project with almost $7 billion and connecting 10 million homes and giving a potable drinking water connection to each and every house, in itself, in terms of its scale, is jaw-dropping, because it covers almost 150,000 kilometers of pipeline laying. It also covers building of nearly 19,000 overhead reservoirs. It also covers building nearly 150 water treatment plants. It also covers building almost 27 intake wells. So it's a huge, gigantic effort, and it involves more than 13,000 permissions from various departments like railways, defense, national highways, forests, Panchayat Raj, roads and buildings, irrigation. So all these departments coming together, working with each other, and working in a time-bound fashion, where our Honorable Chief Minister, in fact, his commitment to the project is so full, he is actually stated on the floor of the House in our state legislature that if he doesn't complete this project, he is not going to seek a vote in 2019. So that goes to show you the kind of commitment and the kind of resolve there is within the administration. And a project of this scale would only be possible with leadership from someone like our Chief Minister, leading from the front. And today, it's a matter of shame, in fact, as a country, that 70 years after independence, here we have the newest and youngest state in India conceiving a project which basically talks about giving something as basic as drinking water to each and every house. It's a shame that people who have ruled us for the last 70 years could not even conceive or think up a project which delivers on something as basic, as inalienable as a right, as fundamental a right as drinking water. So, as a new state, in fact, with our Honorable Chief Minister's leadership, we believe that we will be a role model for the rest of the country. We've already had teams from about 8 different states visiting us, in fact, ministers, engineers-in-chief, chief engineers, and several teams from various governments across the country have visited us. Niti Aayog has written and recommended to rest of the state governments in the country, saying this is a model that should be emulated and replicated across the nation. And we do believe that this will be a path-breaking mission, and with the endorsement and with the blessing of Honorable Chief Minister, I think we will be a role model for the rest of the country.
The hallmark of the governance style in Telangana is the ability of the state bureaucracy and leadership to take inclusive decisions. When it comes to project implementation, policy making, or new city master plan, all decisions have been taken in consultation with the impacted parties. In fact, your own Twitter page is open for people to come and ask for help. So what is it that makes this government believe in inclusivity so much?
I think one thing that defines our Chief Minister is he's a man who comes from the grassroots, and he never fails to remind us every single day, be it in our cabinet meeting or be it in our party internal meeting or be it on a larger meeting of a larger scale, he never fails to remind us of one thing. He says, no individual or institution such as government is a repository of wisdom. Nobody should assume that they know it all. It's better that you actually talk to the domain experts. It's better that you engage with people. It's better that you actually imbibe from the best practices across the world and replicate and emulate. There is no need for reinventing the wheel. For example, the whole the inspiration for Mission Bhagirath, the drinking water project, comes from Siddipet, which our Honorable Chief Minister represented as a legislator for about 20 years. In 1996, in fact, as a legislator in the then government, when the rest of the entire state could not even think up a project, he as a legislator dreamed of a project with about 100 crores in his constituency. He actually was able to execute and deliver a tap water connection to each and every house in his constituency. So now that at a larger scale is being replicated and extrapolated, and we are covering the entire state. So that is the kind of leadership he's always provided. Now coming to your question about Mission Kakatiya, which again is a large scale project, which again is a daring project and a very, very ambitious project in terms of, see, people talk about water conservation, watershed and water harvesting today. But thousands of years ago, when we were ruled by a dynasty called Kakatiyas, they had shown the world, when it was not a fad, when it was not in vogue, as to how you could conserve water in an undulating land like Telangana, where you could build a series of chain tanks where the water will percolate and water will overflow from one tank at a higher level, higher plane, to the next one which is at a lower plane. In fact, in some cases, we have more than 20 tanks linked in a chain system. But unfortunately, over the last 7 decades after independence, most of these lakes, most of these tanks have been willfully neglected. The feeder channels have not been repaired, and as a result, the minor irrigation system in Telangana, which is essentially tanks and lakes, has been neglected, which was the mainstay of irrigation in Telangana, has been continuously deteriorated and willfully deteriorated, if I may add. And only after, once again, Telangana government has assumed office, and our Honorable Chief Minister, who is a big proponent of environment and a big proponent of encouraging the revival of rural economy, he started focusing on these 46,000 tanks in Telangana. When I was in the United States, I visited a state called Minnesota. Minnesota is popularly known as land of 10,000 lakes. When I told them that we had at one point 75,000 lakes and tanks, they were surprised and shocked. Point I'm trying to make is, unfortunately in India, we don't realize the worth of our own natural assets, the worth of our wisdom that has been passed on from generations. And today it took a man like our Honorable Chief Minister to assume office and then go back to the basics and roots. Like I said, he's a man who comes from the grassroots. So therefore, focusing on the rural economy, focusing on the revival and stirring up of rural economy, he launched this project. Today successfully, we've started Mission Kakatiya in more than 17,000 lakes, out of which 9,000 have been completed. And in a phased manner, we'll be covering all 46,000 lakes, and thereby having the ability to store nearly 265 TMC of water, which is as much as a major irrigation project like Nagarjun Sagar would hold, and which could then cultivate nearly 2.5 million lakh of acres of land in Telangana.
Hyderabad is a technology hub, and it has a very strong presence even on the global map. What has brought about this turnaround in Hyderabad city, and how have you been able to attract some of the best global companies here?
I think business houses look at three things. Well, one is political stability in a state or in a country, and we have that in plenty in Telangana. In fact, today our Chief Minister is possibly the tallest leader the state has produced. And the second thing that people look at, especially enterprises and business houses, is economic stability and return on investment. I think Telangana today offers the biggest bang for the buck. If you look at it in terms of infrastructure, like you've said, we have the best infrastructure, but at the same time, the cost of living is extremely low, quality of living is high. So that make Telangana an extremely interesting and a great, attractive destination. And the third thing I would say is the people. The people of Hyderabad, the people of Telangana are extremely adoptive, extremely congenial, extremely welcoming of change, extremely welcoming of new cultures and new people coming in. They are invited with open arms, and they are assimilated into the society here with extremely, the transition is extremely easy for anybody. A lot of people ask me where Hyderabad is. When I travel, I tell them it's neither the south of India nor north of India. It's in fact where South India starts and North India meets. So it's that confluence point which makes it attractive and which makes it mini India, if you ask me. And therefore, I think nobody, for example, when Apple was making a decision, it had to rate between 26 different cities across the world, and yet it chose. And there were some European nations, European countries, there were some African, there were some Middle Eastern, there were some in Southeast Asia. They finally narrowed it down to Hyderabad. So that goes to show you the ability of this city to absorb, invite, and provide talent, and also just assimilate all these wonderful people coming in.
The government is focusing a lot on research and academics. There's skill training in technology via TASK. A lot of innovative ecosystems are being created via T-Hub. And all these are the front runners in building the intellectual capital of the state. What are your thoughts on that? And what are the future plans?
If you were to look at this scenario globally, the world is aging, but India is getting younger. And the biggest strength that we have, at one point of time we used to, there was a flawed, I won't call it a flawed thinking, but there was a thought process, a line of thought, that population is our bane. But today if you look at it, I think India's think force, I don't call it workforce, the human capital that we possess is our biggest strength. Because more than 50% of our population is less than the age of 27. more than 65% of the population is less than the age of 35. And that today provides India an opportunity which is unparalleled in history of having the largest think force on the planet. India today has got not only the ability to provide solutions for itself, but also for the rest of the world. I think in that context, if you look at Telangana, I think Telangana is also richly endowed, not just with a wonderful think force and wonderful talent across in terms of human resources, but we are also richly endowed by way of our large number of research institutions that have a base in Hyderabad, be it in aerospace or life sciences or information technology or cyber security. We have a number of institutions which have done world-class research and which have produced amazing amount of research and development for the industry to also spawn out. So at this point in time, I think what is more important from Telangana government's perspective is ensuring that the research in these institutions that happens is applied to improving the living conditions of Indians at large. So I think what is definitely more needed at this point in time is the ability of our researchers to actually start focusing on the needs of the market, needs of the nation, and start also working towards solutions for that. So that's one thing we've started with RICH, the Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. And I'm hoping it will pay rich dividends because the one thing I do believe in very, very strongly is that Indians today have the ability to compete with the world. And I do believe that the next decade is going to belong to India and Indian innovators and Indian enterprises. The next big multi-billion-dollar enterprises are going to be rooted, are going to be based in India. And I am trying my best that they will be based in Hyderabad.
One of the primary objectives of the KCR-led TRS government has been to foster innovation in the state, which has been exemplified by the creation of the T-Hub, a bridge between startups, academia, corporate, research and the government sector.
Government's job is to create infrastructure, to enable an environment which fosters innovation, which fosters product development, which fosters creation of solutions. It is not our business to actually engage in the day-to-day operations of a vibrant private sector, because I think what is extremely important for us to understand is that enterprises across the world have thrived in a free market, and we cannot stifle innovation. Governments, by way of their red tape, by way of their bureaucracy, by way of the way they function, cannot indulge or cannot really take it upon themselves to deliver. In fact, we have to work closely with the private sector. We have to enable them to create more and more opportunities for our youngsters. We have to work with them in amending our policies. We have to work with them on leapfrogging. I would say not just leapfrogging, but pole vaulting and jumping and transcending the next 15 years and the next 5 years itself.
The state has shown a remarkable growth in revenues. How have the people of Telangana responded to your projects and your policies?
Telangana has always been a surplus state, revenue surplus state, and we've maintained it. Our Honorable Chief Minister, during the course of struggle for statehood for Telangana, has also consistently maintained that we are a surplus state and we are a state that definitely has the potential to be one among the top in the country. Today, on several indices, for example, on the ease of doing business, we are the #1 state. In terms of e-transactions, we are the #1 state. In terms of the fastest growing economies in the country, we are the fastest growing state. In terms of IT growth rates, we are the #1 in the country. So therefore, on a lot of counts, Telangana has been doing exceedingly well. And on a number of initiatives like Mission Bhagirath, Mission Kakatiya, Haritaharam, all of these are path-breaking and pioneering initiatives, and for a new and upcoming state like Telangana, to actually create this sense of optimism, not just within its citizens and not just within the populace of its own state, but also for the rest of the country, to showcase to them that it is possible in India also to achieve good results in a short span of time, provided there is a good leader and an effective leader. I think is extremely important, because I think as a nation, sometimes we tend to be very cynical about our governments and our public representatives. I think a government like Telangana and our Chief Minister have shown to, by way of not only his performance in administration, but also by way of people's endorsements. We faced a number of elections in the last 3 years, be it Greater Hyderabad election or number of by-elections that have happened. Each and every election we've won with, I think, manifold majority than what we have done in the past. So I think that goes to show you the popularity of our Chief Minister among the people, and also among and the impressive growth of the state, which is reflected on every parameter that there is.
Your government is 3 years old. What are the key aspects that come to mind for the rest of your term?
I think change is one thing that's constant. We've never imagined that we would actually be running a government. I think this was an opportunity, once in a lifetime kind of opportunity that was conferred by the people. And we are a party, we have a leader who believes in making sure that the work that we do speaks for itself. And I do believe that good work will be rewarded by the people. We are not a government that is obsessed with next elections. We are not a government which is worried about next elections. Because in a lot of times in India, we have governments which are constantly focused and obsessed with victory in the next election whenever that happens. We're not worried about that, because ultimately people of India today have become smarter, where good work will be rewarded, good work will be incentivized, and people have continued to bless us and continued to shower us with their affection. And I do hope that we just live up to their aspiration. I think as individuals, we are inspired, we continue to be inspired by our Honorable Chief Minister, because he's somebody who doesn't believe in half measures. Whatever he does it fully, and whatever he believes in fully. All the audacious attempts that he's conceived, all the audacious missions that he's conceived, when they are delivered, will be a role model for the rest of the country. And I just hope and I just pray that all of his work, in spite of all the obstacles that there are in the way in a democracy, will be overcome and will deliver on all the missions, and will continue to serve the people to the best of our abilities.
In its bid to make Telangana, India's youngest state, the most sought-after destination for global investment, Minister for IT, Industries and Urban Development, K.T. Rama Rao, has been visiting the United States of America year after year. Attracting the biggest names from Silicon Valley has been at the top of the agenda for the government of Telangana in the effort to make Hyderabad India's biggest IT market.
The fact that this is a new state, without any baggage of legacy, we have converted that into opportunities. So the idea was to give that sense of assurance to the companies here in the Bay Area, the investor community, that Telangana should be definitely on your radar. If you are looking at India to invest, then Telangana should be definitely in your zone of consideration. But in the subsequent meetings, when people started visiting Telangana and they started getting feedback about what's going on, and of course during our own face-to-face interactions, they started getting convinced that this is the place where one can very safely conduct their business. So the subsequent trips have been to consolidate on what we interacted earlier and trying to get those commitments into actual investments, and that has happened in the last 2 years or so. Hyderabad, which is the capital city of Telangana, has become the go-to destination for IT companies, and many of them, some of the biggest names, some of the who's who, the most marquee names from the Bay Area, today have a very significant presence in Hyderabad.
Among the trips that he's taken across the Bay Area and the companies that he's visited here, and he's had a few speaking engagements, what are the key takeaways from all of those?
See, as you know, in the Bay Area, we have software companies, we have these hardware companies, and we also have a large investor community, because this is where the entire startup scene is. So this time we are focusing largely on hardware and semiconductor companies, whom we had not really focused earlier that much. And in Hyderabad, in India, Hyderabad is now the place where the most vibrant and most dynamic startup ecosystem is getting developed. And therefore, we are also looking at partnering with investors, partnering with the startup enablers here in the Bay Area. So on this trip, the focus has been on the one hand hardware and semiconductor guys, and on the other hand these investors and VCs and the startup evangelists.
As the Principal Secretary for IT and Industries for Telangana State, in your experience, what would you say as the growth of technology and IT in Hyderabad, specifically in Telangana, and what are the key focus areas for technology?
Yeah, so our growth has been astonishing. Of course, the country as a whole has grown, but in the last 3 years, if you look at the year-to-year growth, year-on-year growth, we have far surpassed the national average. Of course, in absolute terms, we are still number 2. We all know that Bangalore is the number 1 destination in India for software development, for software exports. But Hyderabad is number 2, and if the growth that we are demonstrating continues, then a day will not be very far when we are really considered the premier destination in India. And Hyderabad in the past was largely seen as a place where mainstream software development, software services, those kind of things were important. But in the last few years, we ourselves as the government are encouraging companies to look at product development, look at the new global trends which are happening. So, for instance, we all know that cyber security is a very big thing, big data is a big thing, IoT, sensors, all these are very, very topical, and these are the technologies that companies are actually deploying, companies are actually using. So, we are also encouraging companies in these spaces to become important, relevant, and make Hyderabad their home.